Today we're going to talk about digital marketing, specifically going into social media. Ryan, our business director, is with us, and our resident expert, if you will, on digital marketing. What I want to talk about today is going a little bit deeper than the surface level of, let's just say, Facebook. It's one of the most popular social platforms, and we can talk about some others as well. But if you'll share just a little bit about, sponsored posts. It's the easy way to kind of click and off we go. And now I'm doing Facebook marketing, right? And I should get lots of clicks and things like that. And really going into how do you go past that to make things more relevant? And really, it's about conversions and really getting the most value out of what you're paying already.
Yeah, I think when you look at, as you said, Facebook is a great example of this. There's often this misconception that when you're hitting the boost my post or boost post, what you see in the news feed of your own post and you click it and then it runs, right? Facebook's doing that really to generate their own revenue for people that don't understand the platform.
Well, that's a good point, right? Because that's what I think about as well. Hey, boost this post, and it'll go to so many viewers. It's basically people who follow you more than anything else, right? And is it truly more of a revenue stream for Facebook versus really trying to bring opportunity to you?
Yeah. No, I think for them, it's less about bringing opportunity, more about we're going to be able to get a quick $20.
Right. Gotcha.
But they're going to get a quick $20 from 10,000 people that day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
When you look at the targeting that's available through that, it's typically geographical and maybe some age and that, right? It doesn't get as finite as what you can with the actual ad center of the platform, which is the back part.
Right.
That's where advertisers play, marketers that understand the platform. That's where we're involved, right?
So if I'm thinking that in terms of that like a business manager account, does that change names? Am I thinking about that the right way then?
Yeah, Business Manager is a much bigger, complex system, right?
Yeah.
Within that, they have ad centers. And so that's where the advertising part actually comes into play.
Gotcha.
But if you think about the ad center, think about it in this idea. So think of it like a circle, right? So when you're boosting your post, you have a very small amount of targeting that's available to you, right? In the ad center, you have a much bigger amount of targeting that's available to you. And then within the business, the Facebook Business Manager, you're going to have it even bigger because you're adding in now things like pixels, which allow you to track conversions, right? You're adding in additional users. You probably have an agency that's performing a lot of the actions for you, so they have all their knowledge. And you can attach partners, so you can co-brand. You can do all those kinds of things within the back end of the Business Manager, right? And that's really the highest level when it comes to Facebook and Instagram because they're both baked into the exact same system.
So part of it then, right? We're talking about, going beyond the basics, right? So basics being sponsored post. How far can you go realistically on your own without hiring an expert who really knows the back end details of it?
Yeah, I think when you look at how much should somebody actually know, if you're looking at an internal team, you have to have somebody that's dedicated into advertising to really get the full benefits of what's going on. So as a previous business owner myself, right, the thing I would always look at was, do I dedicate somebody within my own team to handle all of our advertising, right, specifically digital, because once you go beyond that, it's even more overwhelming for one person to handle. But do I do that, or do I go out and farm this out to an agency, right? And typically what you're going to look at is, unless you truly are doing the volume that's needed as one brand for like an e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it makes sense for them, right? It depends on how much your revenue is for the year, how many goods are you actually selling, what's the number of SKUs.
And you have all those variables, right? Every company is going to be a little bit different.
Right.
You've got your smaller, I'm going to call it mom and pop shops, right? That and that's not a bad word. A lot of people think it is. Then you have your Fortune 500 companies. You have small business, which means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, right?
Right.
And there are a lot of businesses within all these different areas, right? All trying to maybe get a little more brand recognition, but also sell products or sell services. So at what point do you take that next step? Do you go to the business manager side of it on your own and try to manage that, because it's pretty complex?
Right.
Do you just stick with the sponsored post, although you're really not getting the bang for your buck? It's almost like wasted money.
No,
right?
I think.
But is it? Right?
I think if you think about the boost post, right, button in action that's on Facebook and Instagram, those are fantastic for brand awareness. But that's how you have to go into it, is how many people did it show to? That's what you're going to be judged on, even with Facebook, right? They're looking at a cost per 1,000 impressions at that point. They're not looking at how many conversions did you get. That's not even an option there. So for as long as you're keeping in the reality of what you're going to get out of what you're buying, you're fine, right? But I think when you start talking about an e-commerce product and all that, the boosting a post is going to do nothing for you, right? It's going to get eyes on it, but you're not looking at actual conversions, actual sales, a return on ad spend, right, which is a new popular term that's come out. Those kinds of things, you realistically can't be judged on those, right? Whereas a dedicated person would be ideal for that type of thing. I would say when you're starting to spend a significant amount to compete.
Tell me what significant amount is.
Anywhere between $1,000 a month, I would say is really the bar minimum, right? Anything above that, you're starting to hit a level that in today's world is decent.
And those levels, if you're spending that much, you need to definitely be on the basics at that point, right?
Right. You need to be beyond. You're never boosting a post, right? You're actually using the ad center. You might have a business manager set up, which is fine, even for a business on their own without an agency. It's fine to have a business manager. One of the beauties that Facebook did when they set up their platform is you can add partners, and so you can always instantly add an agency in the future. But as an agency, you're going to want to see that type of commitment from a client as well. Do they understand the back end platform? When I'm telling them I'm adding a pixel, do they know how to get to it?
Do they know what it is?
Right. And I think our take on it, right, and maybe this is different than some agencies, is when we, in the relationship with a client, whether that's their side, our side, however that plays out, at some point the relationships do end, right? And when that happens, who gets the information, who gets access, right? And so for us, it's we try to train all of our clients that haven't ever used that platform. This is what is involved. This is what you have access to. This is yours, right? So they know where their pixels are, even though I'm setting it up, because if the relationship does end, they know how to use that information.
They've spent a lot of money at that point,
exactly.
too. That I think the value that you build to this is not just using an agency to help you monitor and go through that. And agencies have different thoughts on how this should be. When we're done, you don't get access to the ad campaigns, you don't get access to anything. Wherever you go with next, they can set it all up and go for you. And it really hurts a client because you're almost starting over, if you will.
Right. Yeah, a lot of them hold it hostage. Hey, we're going to need the full contract before we can actually hand that over to you.
Right.
That's an excuse I've heard a few times. And it's just brutal. But I think the reality of it is, as a company, you should be able to go in, know what is yours, right? When you're working with an
From
agency.
the beginning, yeah, absolutely.
And also, setting up your own business manager and saying, okay, hey, as my agency, I'm going to give you access, rather than them going and building it themselves. One of the red flags you'll see immediately when you're working with any type of marketing company is that they're coming in, it has to be on our platform, right? Because as soon as they say that, it means that they want to control the information. And data is one of the biggest value-added things that we have today. So.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, to know that even if a client doesn't understand it, right, and they've hired us to do it as an example, if that relationship does end, or they've got an internal team now that wants to do it, which happens a lot as well. It's okay, great. All you have to do is hit a button, basically, and switch us out of it. You still have full access. You can add someone else, whatever you need to do. And that's the true benefit of it.
Right.
Where if you're on a different platform, you stop that relationship. You're kind of setting up the platform, you're starting over, and there's a lot involved in getting that done. So talk to me just a little bit more in depth. If I'm doing a sponsored post today, how do I take it deeper?
The first thing that I would look at is what type of targeting you want to do, right? If it is a brand awareness campaign, then you may be good depending on budget, right? If it's not a brand awareness campaign, you're trying to drive action, which every business should be trying to drive some action, right? Brand awareness is a side benefit that comes with every campaign that you're running. But if you're driving some type of action, you need to look at the ad center for sure. That's within Facebook.
How complex is that?
It's difficult. It can be. Right?
I mean, that's step 2.
Yeah.
Phase 2, if you will.
Yeah, it's phase 2. I would say it's the next step in what you want to do with advertising. But when you're looking at the ad center, the biggest complexity comes into making sure the pixels are set up and conversions are tracked. How do you do that on your website? Well, that's different for every single website. Do you have a Drupal website, a WordPress website, a Squarespace? Each one of those has its own nuances of how to set up the Facebook pixel.
So, okay.
Which is complex,
a lot
right?
of companies,
Right.
even large companies, it's amazing. You don't find all that connectivity and thought between putting everything together. So it's taking that next step is really somebody has to go in and really understand that platform, how it connects to your website.
Right.
To drive things where you want them to go.
Well, and I think that comes down to what the biggest value for an agency is, right? Biggest value of hiring an agency is they're not looking at, or they shouldn't be looking at one thing, right? An agency versus a marketing firm, right? A marketing firm's like, yeah, we can run your Facebook ads, and they're really good at Facebook ads, but they don't look at the bigger picture. An agency, a full service agency, is going to look at, okay, how is this connecting to your print pieces, right? Is the branding on point? Is it not? Right, the imagery that's used is heavily discussed because it needs to match everything else that's going on. Right? Is it in our colors? How do we push that forward? What's a unique perspective that we can take with
the integration? Right. 3
Right.
points of integration
Right.
type
And
of thing.
yes, but also to the extent of, I mean, even looking at the creative and figuring out a way. What we've done, color overlays, right, on some images and special filters. So it sets it apart. The problem that you're running into now, as a small business especially, is it used to be you could take a photo of a cupcake and you could throw it up on Instagram and Facebook and you could promote it and you would get action from that. Nowadays, there's 15,000 other people that are doing that. Right? So you can't do that anymore. Instead, you have to shoot a really cool slow motion drop of the icing on the cupcake, right? And
still sounds pretty
good. It's not bad. But that kind of thing is going to get action. But that takes production value. That takes creative mindset. That takes how do we track this beyond this so that we're not wasting money on people viewing the ad and not converting, right? All those types of things are very important. And it's taking it to that next level.
But it's the things that people don't see. It's not tangible.
Right.
You got to do them, but you're not really thinking about it. You think about, I got to throw an ad up.
Right.
And not thinking about exactly what that ad is and what it's saying.
Well, and the other side of that is you're not thinking beyond, one of the things that we always try to think through is the customer journey through all of that, right? What happens when somebody sees that ad? They click it. Where's it going? What does that look like? How are we tracking conversions there? Can we do something with remarketing after that?
Yeah, I got to tell you now, even right now, it seems like a lot, right?
It is.
So if I can't afford an agency, right, or I can't, I'm not at that point yet.
Right.
It's somewhere I want to go because if I do and I invest those dollars, I need a return on that investment. That's why you go to an agency. You should. That's what you should be expecting out of it. That's totally just a branding play, but there's expectations on that as well. How do I take that next step, or how do I at least prepare to take that next step?
Yeah, I think first and foremost that a lot of people don't do when we initially sit down with people, and it's surprising the amount of businesses that don't do this, is set aside a budget, right? Actually figure out for the year, what can I realistically set aside? You have a budget, you have an expectation, and an agency can come in and go, is that realistic or not, right? Have a conversation with an agency. Good agencies are out there that will have conversations with you, even if you're not a good fit. And they will point you in the right direction. I know that we're one of those agencies, but I know that we're not the only ones, right? There are agencies that will look at your budget, look at your goals, and go, that's not realistic, right? But I think if you're not ready to hire a full-service agency and look at all the facets that can affect your business and really push the ROI, right? What you can do is you can look at smaller firms marketing firms, as we discussed, that can do Facebook advertising. Capitalize on one specific avenue, right? Make sure that the ROI is there. Make sure that you're getting a return, because as your business is growing and you're revenuing more dollars every single year, you'll be able to afford the agency, which will allow you to push it into 3, 4, 5 different touch
And you're
points.
talking a much bigger picture at that point,
Right.
So for today, talking just social in general, right? And I'm doing the boosted post thing. Nothing I can really do to push forward on my own.
First off, if you sign up for an Ad Center account within Facebook, you will get hit up by a Facebook rep.
Right.
Everybody does.
Yeah,
But
makes
they'll reach out to you. They do have good advice for base level, right? And they'll do an audit of your account if you ask them.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
Which is really nice. So Facebook has that added benefit.
So we'll start to help you a little bit. You may
They
not
will.
go into all the depth of the Ad Center,
No.
but just working through that alone is going to make what you're doing more effective because of the controls in there.
They'll look at the targeting, they'll look
Okay.
at your settings, they'll understand what you're trying to accomplish and see if it realistically matches, right? They understand their platform, so they will be able to say, hey, there's actually a better target audience that you can go after to accomplish what you're trying to do.
Because they're also incentivized for you to do well, because then you're not going to
Absolutely.
leave, right?
Absolutely. So I think the other side of that is there's a ton of online resources, right?
Just to learn how to use that.
Yeah,
Ad Center.
yeah. What's
So
available?
Step one, right? We stop doing sponsored boosted
The boosted
posts,
posts,
right?
yeah.
Get into the Ad Center, start working through that, learn it a little bit, right? And it's going to be very overwhelming at the beginning, but the
Right.
more you play in it, like anything else, the better you get at it, right? And the more comfortable
Yeah.
you get at it.
Yeah.
So how, through all of that as well, Instagram's a piece of Facebook, right?
Right.
How does that connect in through that?
Yeah, so when you're looking at your actual ads within the Facebook Ad Center, right, under placements, you'll be able to select which placements you want. My advice, and this is just a little nugget for today, right, unless you're creating content that's specific to video, creating content that is specifically vertical based, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to be on stories, right?
When you say vertical based, what do you mean by that?
So creative that's actually created in a vertical format, right? So
When you're
vertically
shooting
shot video,
Gotcha.
vertically shot animated GIFs, vertically shot photos, right? Anything that's vertically shot. You've probably seen them while you're on Instagram late at night, not sleeping. But you'll.
I mean, I'm working. I don't
Yeah,
know what you're doing. I'm,
Right.
can't wait for that
I'm
day.
learning new platforms. That's exactly what it is. But when you're looking at Instagram stories, they'll swipe up, right? That's the new thing. And swiping up accesses the landing page.
Yeah.
Well, unless you've created content that's very specific for that, turn off stories, right? Because if not, it will actually put blocks of black
Oh, right.
on either side, top
Yeah,
and bottom, of the creative that's horizontal, which is the good format for feeds, right? So, so if you're not planning on running anything that's vertically creative, you want to turn those off. So in that way, it helps with your brand impression, it helps with conversion, it helps with all those.
You know, that's good information. Go into Instagram, and that's the latest, greatest, right? Stories. You know, everybody talks about
Everybody
what stories
wants
is.
to do
So, and that's the thing you have to be careful of too. You can do a lot of things through social, right? Just writing good content's a big step to it, right?
Right.
Pick a few things and do them really well.
Yeah. I always tell people, it's funny because we'll have people that come to us for video and go, I want to make a really cool video, and I'm awesome. Let's talk about that, because my background has a lot of video in it and a lot of YouTube and optimization. And what I will look at is the very first thing, as soon as you tell me I want to do video, is I'll go to your YouTube channel and I'll look at the library of other content that you have.
If there is some.
That's often what we run into, is a lot of them I want a really cool video, but they don't have a library of content, right? Which means when somebody sees that video and they go to watch all their other videos that are normal, there's none. Same thing with Facebook and Instagram, right? Unless you're posting regularly on the platform, unless you're running good ad content, I mean, you would have to do an ad that's very specific towards one product or one type of promotion that you're running or something to that extent, without posting regularly on the platform, right?
Right.
Post regularly on the platform, get used to that, then start running advertising.
take your step proactively, make step goals, no
Right.
matter how big or small, it gets you to the end.
Well, I
And
mean,
it's too easy to shotgun everything now, right?
Absolutely. And the other things you got to look at, you also have to look at messenger bots. Is that a good follow-up technique for you? It gets very complex.
It can get very complex. That's why we got to keep it and overwhelming, right?
Right.
I mean, just our conversation today can get a little overwhelming, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So keep it simple, keep it attainable, small
Right.
bite-sized chunks,
Right.
and start moving it forward.
And
And everything will start to fall into place.
I can tell you this for a fact, another little nugget real quick, is if you create an ad and you create an image ad that is square, it will work on Facebook and Instagram beautifully, right? So square creative works extremely well.
That's a good point, too.
Using standard imagery, if you don't have the money to go out and hire a professional photographer to shoot your product specifically, find stock. It is much higher quality than taking out your iPhone and trying to take a photo.
Yeah.
There is a technique of what I call grassroots, right? Very down and dirty. You're pulling out your iPhone. Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out our product. Da, da, da. That can be used for remarketing. But that kind of thing is so specific. You have to have a very intentional plan starting out to do that you want it to appear very
It looks
organic.
sloppy a little bit
Right.
at times, but it works really well because they've actually done
Right.
a lot of planning to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. A lot of people will go and speak at events and say, well, just flip out your iPhone and start recording. You can. Absolutely you can.
Maybe you get lucky.
I think for content it's great.
Yeah.
I think for video advertising it's perfectly fine because it does have that organic feel. But when you start getting into, I really want somebody to take action and I want them to take this specific action, you have to find the right stock and you have to find the right copy.
Yeah. Tell the right story. That's what you're trying to do at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for digging into that a little bit for us.
Yeah.
It helps. If you have any additional questions, just leave a comment for us. Reach out to us directly. Give us a phone call. Shoot an email over to us, and we will get back to you. We're one of those agencies that wants to help. So appreciate your time. Let's get on to the next one.